Okay, so really it's Invar and Electrum that we're going to need, and the problem is those require a furnace. Let's turn you off for now. Those require a furnace, and this furnace is not hooked up. Hello everyone, Thranxes here, and welcome back to Stationeers, episode 12, where as you can see I've been doing a little bit of deconstruction and experimenting with the recycler and the centrifuge. Oh, it looks like we've got ore floating around. We've got all kinds of ore floating around. What's going on here? And this thing is still making... Hold on. What is going on? These can't be 50 grams. What? 50... What? What is happening? It's like, is there something in there? I can't... Oh my goodness. Is this just stuck in a loop? It's just giving us iron? Hold on. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. Hold on. When did... Okay, I'm gonna have to try to figure this out. We just cut the logic off so the arc furnace will stop activating. Oh my goodness, look at all this iron everywhere. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna try to figure out what happened, and I'll bring you right back. Okay, so as it turns out, there are still some iron. I put some through the chute to try to see what was happening. There's still some iron jammed up in the arc furnace, and for some reason, it was just duplicating 50-gram ingots of iron over and over and over again. And I'm not sure why. I am going to leave it. I thought about resetting. It didn't make too much. It did make some extra, but it didn't make too much extra. But I'm going to leave it because, you know, whenever the game hands me a bug that hurts my cause, I generally try to roll with it and not complain, and or at least not too much. I try to taper back because I know I'm playing early access. So when I get a small glitch that is in my favor, that is not game breaking, I'm gonna roll with it too, and I'm just gonna figure out that you know, or I'm just gonna thematically assume that we found a way to more efficiently smelt the iron, and so we just squeezed a little bit extra out of it, but that it was unsafe practice, you know, so we're not going to continue doing it. Here's all our coal. Now I did mess around with this off camera. In a separate save file that I was just dorking around with a lot of different stuff to try stuff out, and I found that the recycler actually does accept stuff into its chute when this is not blocked up by the frame. I had thought that you could maybe recess this into the frame and it wouldn't cause an issue as long as the chute was fully connected, but that is not the case. No, the centrifuge can happily accept the ore through the frame. However, other objects, they cannot pass through here. So we're going to have to back these up away from the wall, or off of the wall a little bit, so at least their chutes are fully exposed and can pass items through. But we're not going to be using that too much right now, and I'm not going to worry about it too much at this second. What we're going to do is grab some stairs and start planning out the next section of this space station. So this is the material processing center, and all of our little printers and stuff are going to be in here. There's going to be a lot of different items. This is where all of our resources are going to be handled and smelted, except for the furnace. So I was going to do the manual furnace in this corner and run a bunch of, you know, pipes and pressure and stuff, but I realized the manual furnace is a dangerous thing, right? Because we're going to have all this hydrogen and pressure and temperature, and it really should get its own sort of room. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an atmospherics level. And let's see, we got 200 steel, a little bit of iron there. Let's grab this 200 grams of steel. And let's get ourselves some steel frames, I'm thinking. So we'll start getting a lot of steel frames. And there we go. Go ahead. And we'll start planning out our next section of the base and try to get set up so that we can start making more steel before we move forward. So we're going to need some sort of atmospheric center. I have this tank here So I have this tank here for the pollutants that we get from smelting there, which we're going to use for propellant. Speaking of, we're going through it rather quickly. We're going to need a station for that as well. And then this was all the other air that we had that we pressurized the arc furnace room with. It's not being measured. Its mixture is just whatever we had in the old station when it was pressurized, or the old wing of the station that's being disassembled. So, but I don't think this is where I want to keep my gas tanks. My thought process was that this upper deck here would be sort of the command center of the space station, and maybe with like a living quarters on it. So then underneath that you would have material processing. So then down here I would do atmospherics. And this is where we're going to handle all of our air processing and mixturing is going to be, or mixing into mixtures is going to be down underneath this area. So here was what I had in mind, and I'm just going to start to show you kind of the vision I had, and then I'm going to do some work on it. Let's go ahead. We're going to ruin the gravity in this room, but that is okay. Let's get our angle grinder. And there we have it. So we've taken up our frames. Let's get this cooler back away from the zero gravity of space there. We don't want to lose it. We'll put back our angle grinder. Let's grab these steel frames. So unfortunately, all that extra iron doesn't really help us when it comes to steel. So we're going to have to turn it into steel. And that's going to require a setup with the furnace. Unfortunately, we sort of demolished the other one. And I kind of wish that I had left it in place as an interim, but at this point we've just got to move forward, not backwards. It's time to start building. I'm at the point where I don't want to do any more temporary structures. I just want to go to where I'm building everything permanent and planned out with what I had in mind, and that's not going to work. And we'll talk about why I'm doing what I'm doing here in just a second as we get some frames in place. Perfect. Okay, so here's what we have. Frame here, frame here, frame there, frame here. Okay. And that's not, no, we should do the frame here. Right. So the frame will go here instead. And it'll actually run like this, down like this, there. And I think you'll sort of see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. All right. So here's what we have. And so this actually is going to be more like this. Frame there. And that little area there is just going to be left to, I guess, be walled up, framed in. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this little descent here down the stairs. So here's the way it works. You come down the hallway. This will eventually teeter into stairs that go up to the top. Once this section here is removed, we're going to eventually do some sort of airlock system on the corner. So this corner of stairs will have some sort of airlock system that you can go out of. And then what'll happen is you can go over here and enter. There'll be a maintenance hatch here, which will allow you to go creeping and crawling through the frames once everything is walled in between floors. That way we can do maintenance without tearing up the floors. We can go walking through these little maintenance corridors. Then you'll take the stairs down and you'll come out into an elevated area just like the area above. And then here we'll step down and this will be the atmospherics level. So you'll have one section for manipulating your air. You'll have a bunch of filters and stuff kind of stored in the maintenance areas. And then beyond it, surrounded by double frames and blast doors, is going to be where we do the furnace and hydrogen containment. Actually, we might do all air containment behind the blast doors. I'm not sure if I want to include the air containers near the furnace, but that is the plan. Obviously, we're going to need a lot more frames to make this happen, and I don't know how many steel sheets we have. We're going to need a lot of those as well. Steel frames 30, that's good. Let's grab that. And then we'll grab these steel frames as well. Should be enough for another stack. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start constructing the frame out of what we have. and get things kind of looking the way we want to look, and then we'll start talking about where we're going to store the tanks and how we're going to pipe the things out. Because what we need, before we cut off camera for me to do all this work, let's look at the things that I'm going to need, because they require some interesting materials as I was looking at them. So we're going to need, see, atmospherics is really easy to make. We can do that. Tank. Pipe, okay, pipe analyzer requires Electrum. It's right there. We can't do that without a furnace. Digital valve takes Invar. Digital valve, that's perfect. That's a valve you can operate remotely. That's exactly what I want to do. So we're going to need Invar, and then the gas mixer, not so much. Label, what is the label? Is just iron. A meter, yep. Radiator is gold and steel. That's not bad. We could do that. Regular valve. Volume pump we've done. Okay, so really it's Invar and Electrum that we're going to need, and the problem is those require a furnace. Let's turn you off for now. Those require a furnace, and this furnace is not hooked up. Now we could probably, oh, look at these. Oh, those are really cool looking. So they've changed the way the tank fill area, I'm using the words written on it, the gas canister filling areas. That's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. Let's see. Just because I'm curious, how much propellant do we have? We have one more container of propellant, and then we're going to need to set up a system to pull propellant out of the waste tank over there. And I might do the first one on the outside of the ship. I'm not sure. Okay. Let's get out of that dark area and start looking forward to what we're going to do. Maybe there would be a way we could still use this. And this light's disconnected. If I traced back, because there's no atmosphere here, if I actually traced back what I ripped up, because really it was just this release pipe, needs to be able to vent into space, and there is no point to vacuuming the room, and these pipes were not messed up, so the fuel is still being put into the furnace. We could still use it with repair to the exhaust vent, and in fact, we might just do that. Even though it's not going to be pretty, we could do it. Whoa, the shadow from the pipe. That was a little freaky. And there it goes. Interesting. Oh no, it might have been an asteroid or something. In any event, I'm going to you know what? Let's not do the construction just yet. Let's see what we can do about some Invar and some Electrum. I believe the Electrum is pretty easy to make. I think most of them are actually pretty easy to make. No, my panel's not out here. All right, well, we're going to turn this back on to just keep making steel frames then, since we're not ready to start the construction yet. Because what I want to do with the ventilation area is I want to get it nice and automated and all fancy, just like this. And we're going to need, those things to do it. All right, let's figure out, I put the silver somewhere. All right, let's look at this first. It's got the atmosphere analyzer in it, which is not the one we want. Okay, fair enough. Let's see, is the silver in here? No, what did I use the silver for? For the sorter motherboard, so the silver is actually going to be inside the electronics printer. Okay, all right. Let's see, what do you have in you? You just have iron in you. Pick these up. Silver and gold. Okay. So we can make some Electrum. Let's go ahead and I guess we'll get that stuff started to sort out here. Solder can go right back in. Let's flip you up. Solder can go back in. The iron can. The steel can, sure. And then silver and gold we're going to hold on to. Now, it's not an even mixture. I could add 3 grams of gold to it, but I don't have any ingots like that. Is there gold in here? Is there gold in here? No, there's not gold in any of these. Well, what we could do... okay, so I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to get it straightened out, and then I will bring you back once we're ready to start doing the thing. Okay, we're back. I've done a little bit of work. I think we're ready to go. We've got our proper cartridge in. I did remember to actually grab the portable light this time that I read in the comments was a really good idea. I put it in my backpack. I did remember to grab it, so we're going to use it so we're not operating in the dark. Although we are going to have these awkward shadows now. And now, see, when I put it in my backpack, we get these really weird little graphical shadows that I don't like, so we're going to do it like this. Okay, let's get a look at what we have here. No, we're not doing spray paint. What we need is Electrum. And I passed it. I went right past it. Now, there's Invar. We'll get to that. Electrum requires a high temperature, a lower pressure, and gold and silver. So we did get 20 gold, 20 silver in here. So we're going to make 40 grams of Electrum. Should be. I rebuilt in the release valve to get all this hot gas out of here. We're not going to be able to cool it and filter it yet. That will be the plan moving forward, though. So I think the mixture, let's see, 64-36. So the more of input 1, the more hydrogen we put, the hotter it's going to get, and the more oxygen we put, the more pressure it's going to get. I think what we'll do, it's a pretty hot mixture so far, so let's change the pressure regulator. Actually, 100 might be a bit much, but we do need a lot of pressure. Let's start. This is going to be an experiment. So let's try 100 kPa of a 2-to-1 ratio of hydrogen to oxygen. And let's just see what this gives us. All right, and activate. And so what are we missing? We're too hot on the temperature, and we're too high on the pressure. So obviously 100 kPa overshot it pretty significantly. And so the pressure is about to come into focus, but, oh no, the temperature's good. What am I saying? 10.0 K Kelvin. Yeah, so the temperature's good. We just need the pressure to come down below 2400 kPa. And I think we might be able to rush that along slightly if we just toggle the vent on and then turn it right back off. Ooh, careful, it's hot air, I know. There we go, well within pressure range, 40 ingots of Electrum. Wonderful. Now we have Electrum. That was relatively easy. Let's take a look at the Invar. Maybe we can use it while it's still hot with pressure. So Invar is going to require a very high pressure. Yeah, we're good on temperature. We need a lot more pressure, though, to be able to make Invar. Okay. All right. That's not a huge deal. And it is, I didn't even look at the materials, iron and nickel. Half of each, which is great because we should have a 50 stack of iron and nickel down here in this pile. I know we have the iron, and we should have the nickel. We did smelt some of our first nickel. There we go. I think we'll just throw that in our pocket, and then we'll grab one of these 50 of iron. Perfect. Okay. So now we'll get over here, and we're not... I might be able to pressurize it more, maybe, while it's still happening. Let's change the ratio to more of a... closer to a 50-50, and we'll turn this back on and see what happens. No, it's not going to let us... maybe... No, it's not going to let us... It's not going to accept gases while it's on. While it's still hot. Right. Well, we can go ahead and put in our nickel and our iron. Might as well. 50 grams of iron. 50 grams of nickel. And it's not going to make anything because we do not have the pressure. So at this point, we don't have really the temperature either. Let's go ahead and vent the whole thing into space. Careful, that's a lot of hot air. All right, and then we'll come down here. And it should be, ooh, it heated everything up pretty good in here. So we still have a lot of temperature. We have pretty much no pressure. Wow, though, look how much it heated up all this iron. Well, it's 0 here, and no, okay, it's all dissipated. The little micro traces of air are gone. It's still really hot, though. I think we've successfully vented it out. Well, no, let's let the pressure go all the way down. We're going to let the last little bit of pressure escape. The fire is gone. It still reads high on the temperature, but I think there's some sort of bug in action. Maybe not, though. Okay, we've got our encyclopedia ready. Let's go ahead and double check our stats for Invar. So I went ahead and gathered a little bit of oxalite in my mining belt because our oxygen canister is running low and we need really high pressure. The temperature is pretty standard, but we need very high pressure to make this Invar. You can see we're slightly over temp now even, trying to get this thing to cool down, but we're going to just, I'm just going to run with it as is. So let's get our mixture on. I've got us at the 50-50 mixture, and we're going to start with 200 kPa. And that's probably good. That's a little over pressure, but now I want to go ahead and throw this oxalite in there. And now we're going to activate it. And I guess there's not enough hydrogen. Okay, so we're trying very much to get this Invar mixture proper, and I overpressurized the furnace. Now, luckily, we don't have an atmosphere in here to worry about another incident with fire and/or explosion. Does this light work? No, it does not. But yeah, so we're very much overpressurized. Now, I want to release some of the pressure, but I don't know what's going to happen. Right, so let's just give it a little toggle for just a second. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yep, okay, it knocked me back. Okay, so it was just a little tiny vent, just a little vent of all that pressure. Now let's see what that got us. Okay, that dropped about 10,000 kPa. That was pretty good. We need about another one of those. And hopefully I can close the valve before I get thrown away. Yep, we'll just let all that pressure and heat go. Whew, it's so hot. It's heating up all this metal. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Unfortunately, I did not discover the proper mixture. That will take more experimentation, but I'm going to do that in a more controlled environment. This is very much a temporary setup. I could probably read it from up here. Yeah, 13K. We're getting closer. There we go. There's 10. Getting closer. Okay, so now we have the pressure. Let's go ahead and hop down in there, and we should be able to make it now, please. Ugh, there we go. No, we cannot, because it is too hot. It is just barely too hot. What can we do about that? Because now we're losing pressure, but we're not losing temperature. So we need the temperature to stay cool while the pressure is very high. I wonder if... Let's go down in here and let me grab my tool belt. Because really all we need to do is lose just like 100K. Or no, temperature's going down. Oh, the temperature jumped down quite a bit. But we're about to lose the pressure. The temperature has to come down another 28 degrees. So my plan was, and I don't know if this is going to work, was going to be
0G.
To disconnect this pipe and see if that helped with our situation. It doesn't appear like it. The temperature did go down, though. I'm not sure what caused that. It's just ever so slightly out of range. That's steel. Invar. Between 1.2 thousand Kelvin and 2000 Kelvin, and it's got to be above 6000 kPa. And it doesn't look like we're going to get it. It looks like the pressure is going to drop before the temperature. That means it's going to be a very specific ratio. It's going to have to be, I would almost say more oxygen than hydrogen, but it's got to be enough to burn. So you got to have enough hydrogen to start the chain reaction, but then have some way to cool it down, because now we're going to lose our pressure. Okay, this one's a little challenging. Okay, so I had to go and do some gathering of oxide and volatiles to supplement our yet nearly empty canisters. And what I did was I changed the mixture. I've been fiddling with it off camera because I didn't want the whole episode to be this, but it looks like it is. I got the mixture to about 1 hydrogen to 2 oxygen, and then I pressurized it. Let's see, it was higher than this. I turned it back down. I had it closer to like 1,000. I don't remember exactly what it was set at, but you can see what I have is a very high pressure burn at a very cool temperature. Well, cool comparatively to other times we've activated the furnace, but it's a touch over pressure. So if we look, we actually need it to go, let's pull it back up. I don't know why it keeps changing. We actually need it to go to 6 or 7, between 6,000 kPa and 7,000 kPa, and that is a very somewhat narrow window, I feel like. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to do, and hopefully this doesn't bite us, we're going to vent it very quickly. Yep, it's a bunch of hot air, I know, and the pressure went down very close to where we want it to be. Let's do it again for just a second. Boom, that looks like it's very close now. Hopefully the temperature didn't go down any, which it doesn't look like it did. All right, we're still a little high on the pressure, but it's trending in the right direction. So all we have to do now is wait for this to get below 7,000 kPa, and we should have ourselves some Invar as long as the temperature inside the furnace holds. All right, well, they say a watched pot never boils, but a watched furnace does cool down, and there you can see we're within the pressure window. Our temperature is good. It's nice and cool burning. Lots of pressure. 100 grams of Invar. Thank you very much. That was painful. Now we have Invar and Electrum, and we can make some of these really, really neat steel frames there. No, that's not how that works. We want some Invar and some Electrum. Now we should be able to make all these really neat things. So let's go ahead and make a few of them. The radiator is going to take gold. Gold we have. There's no reason for you not to have gold. We don't need the radiators yet. Pardon me. We need not the label, the digital valve. We're going to need some of those. And pipe analyzer. I'm going to want some of those as well. Let's grab some of this iron and put it in here. And then we also need to grab some copper. Pipe analyzer. Go ahead and make 2 of those to start with. That's probably good. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but at least I have some to get me started. And let's go grab
0G.
ourselves a block of copper over here from the ingot pile. There we go, 50 grams of copper. And then we should be able to make ourselves some digital valves as well. And this hydraulic pipe bender should be able to make all of the things we need. Pipe analyzer is good. Digital valve, let's go ahead and make some of those. These are going to be really important because these will let us control, yes, the flow of air between 2 points without having to manually hit the switch, because the idea is that we'll have a furnace room that is controlled that you won't have to walk into. And it's going to have to be cooled and everything else. And we used all of our what? Why did it stop? Steel, because it takes steel. That's okay. We have more of that too. We can go ahead and put that in there just to have it, because I'm sure we'll need more. Now we have our digital valves. And we have our analyzers. Oh, we need a back pressure regulator. I did not look at what that takes. I didn't even see that. Pressure regulator. Is it the same as, hold on. Because if it's made from the same, let's see, pressure regulator, back pressure regulator. Okay, so it is the same. We just have to make a couple more pressure regulators. And what the back pressure regulator does is it pumps air forward until the pressure behind where it's pumping the air is at a certain temperature, or as at a certain pressure. And that's what we're going to use to try to pressurize our rooms moving forward so that they are nice and breathable, and we don't have to use our canister oxygen, but it's just going to make it more like a real space station to have a nice controlled atmospherics, because what we need is we need some controlled atmospherics and resources so that we can start working on
0G.
a greenhouse and hydroponics. And I don't want to tackle that until we have a wonderful automated atmospheric center. So I guess for this episode, most of it was about making the Invar and the Electrum, and talking a little bit about what we're going to do moving forward and planning out the construction. I was hoping to get some of the construction done this episode, but it's going to take some time. That will give me something to do in between this episode and next episode, so that hopefully I have some large changes to show you. I thought about skipping over the Invar and Electrum, but it's the first time that I've made them, and I wanted to demonstrate their difficulty if you were just jumping into it like I was. Here, let's put you in my backpack. And or their ease. So lesson learned, Electrum is easy, Invar not so much. You need a high oxygen content in your mixture to ensure that you have the proper pressure to temperature ratio to make Invar. That being said, this is where we're going to wrap things up. This has been Stationeers episode 12. Thank you so
0G.
much for joining me. I hope you've had a good time watching, because as always, I've had a good time playing. Come back next time as we work on getting our atmospheric center laid out. We're not going to do all the bells and whistles, but we're at least going to get it ready for a furnace area, because the furnace area will have to be done first so that we can start mass producing steel with all this iron and coal we have, so that we can begin the big scale production, where we just have stacks and stacks of frames and we're throwing them everywhere to get a nice layout of where we want all the grids to be. And we're going to need more lockers and stairs and all sorts of things. So luckily we have a little bit of bonus iron to work with. But until next time, take care.